Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to launch one of my favorite series that I do every single year, my list of most anticipated reads. We're going to be talking about books that are coming out in 2026. This is a list that I've been compiling just throughout the year as I have heard of releases. I get a lot of my information from Read Jump Scares, which is a blog that used to be associated with Toward Nightfire, and they went off on their own and released this massive list every single year of upcoming releases in the horror universe. Not all of these are from there. There's a few that aren't on that list, but I definitely use that list as a massive source of information for this. So definitely check that out if you are interested in a long, well put together list of upcoming reads. But these are the books that I'm the most excited for. I am so thrilled to get my hands on by authors I really love, or by authors that I want to give another chance to, or by authors that I've never read before, but the premise sounded super cool. So I have a lot of books on this list. I believe this is going to be a 3-part video. I'm going to do about 10 books per video. I don't know if I will do 3 or 4, but definitely 3. I right now have enough to do 3, which I'm really excited about. But I'm still adding to the list, so I filmed these over a couple days as I'm putting the list together. But we're going to dive into my first 10. This is not in any particular order. This is just kind of in the order of when I found out about these books. But I will say that this particular part of the list definitely has a lot of authors that are like some of my favorite go-to authors. I'm very excited about that. So without further ado, let's jump in to my most anticipated reads of 2026. I'm so excited. Okay. I get most of these synopses from Goodreads. There are a few where Goodreads didn't have the synopsis up yet for a particular book, so I got it directly from the publisher of that book. And starting first, we have The Hitchhiker by Richard Shizmar. This is going to be released from Cemetery Dance Publications, and there isn't a synopsis on Goodreads for it yet. And there's also not a set date, even though it is coming out in February of 2026. Now, Richard Shizmar is the owner of Cemetery Dance, so he can kind of do whatever he wants with his books, but I really enjoy what he writes. I absolutely adore Chasing the Boogeyman. I had so much fun reading Widow's Point this year. I'm really excited to read this novella that he's crafted. So it says, for as long as 16-year-old Timmy Deptol can remember, there have been whispered stories about the mysterious dark figure that prowls the rural roadways of his small Maryland town. Like most of his friends, though, he chalks them up to old-timer tall tales and spook show legend. But come this October, Timmy is about to find out the truth. Ooh, okay. Now, it is an extremely limited release. So it says that there are 250 signed numbered copies and 52 signed and lettered copies. Again, released exclusively through Cemetery Dance Publications. So I'm not sure if it's going to be released on a larger scale later or what, but I am very excited to read this. Also, when I do these videos, this is my first time reading a lot of these synopses, especially if they're by authors that are just instant by authors, so you're getting my real reactions to real time. Later on in the video, series, I'm going to have a couple authors that I have never read before, and these are just synopses that I stumbled upon that I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. So those are the ones that I have read, but for this video, I don't think I've actually read any of these. Okay, so very excited about that. Richard Shizmar is from Maryland. He writes a lot of stuff about Maryland. I grew up in Maryland, so I love reading about his take on making Maryland spooky. But another author from Maryland who loves making Maryland spooky is Ronald Malfi, who's one of my favorite authors of all time. And he has a book coming out on April 14th that is called The Hive. Let's see what this one's about. So this says, an epic Lovecraftian horror novel in the vein of Black River Orchard and American Elsewhere, about a small town that becomes obsessed with a series of random objects left strewn across their town in the aftermath of a storm. From the Bram Stoker Award-nominated and best-selling author of Come With Me, the residents of Mariner's Cove are changing. In the aftermath of a violent storm, a collective obsession is rapidly developing among the people of this quaint suburban neighborhood. Random everyday items left scattered upon the lawns, the streets, and the shoreline all seem to call out to them. There is an item for almost everyone, and each item has a certain hold over the person who finds it, a hold that soon turns into unwavering infatuation. They hide their items from each other, obsess over them, and they will do anything to protect them. The collective hum of bees' wings. A young boy finds himself the possessor of a strange and inexplicable power. Is the arrival of this power linked to the increasingly odd and dangerous behavior of the residents of Mariner's Cove? Has he been granted this power in order to thwart whatever is about to happen in this small Bayside community? Or is there a more sinister purpose? All hail the dragon. All eyes are on him now. The residents of Mariner's Cove are watching. They move as one, like a solitary organism, and will do anything to succeed in their single-minded purpose. They will not be stopped. Ooh, okay, cosmic horror with a hive mind. Definitely read similar things to that, especially this year. And I don't love cosmic horror, but I do love Ronald Malfi. I will pretty much read anything he writes, so I am very excited to see if he can win me over with a Lovecraftian-style eldritch horror. We shall see. All right, next up, we have Monumental by Adam Neville. So this is coming out on April 2nd. This is going to be released by Ritual, which is Adam Neville's independent publishing company that he released a couple years ago. He's been releasing all of his latest releases through that. This is from Goodreads, though. It says, a story of life and death in the wilderness, and a horrifying tale of extreme survival against supernatural powers from the 4-times winner of the August Derleth Award for Best Horror Novel. Disaster strikes quickly and without warning. What should have been a glorious weekend of kayaking and camping in a secluded beauty spot is transformed by a scream. The first crisis, initiating a deadly momentum that accelerates as the valley reveals itself to Marcus and his 5 companions. They're trespassing on strictly private land. There's only one way out. An escape route closed until the next high tide fills the estuary. In 12 hours' time, recreation becomes survival. Marooned, unable to summon help, harassed by dire and worsening circumstances, the ties that bind the expedition are stretched taut. If they snap, vital cooperation will unravel, and the group's members' damning secrets will be revealed. Only the most courageous and committed have any chance against the area's inhabitants. But is any mind strong enough to endure the confrontation with the most hideous revelation of all? An ancient evil that coils beneath the valley's sinister folklore. Adam Neville writes the scariest modern horror, period. This man has his finger on something inherently evil, insidious, bone-chilling, hair-raising, spine-tingling terror, says Sadie Mother Horror Hartman, the owner of Nightworms. Cool. This reminds me a lot of some of the premises for his older works, specifically The Ritual, a little bit of the reddening in there alongside No One Gets Out Alive. So I'm really, really interested to see if he's kind of going back to his roots and the way that he used to write folk horror before he launched his own publishing company. So that'll be a fun one. I've kind of been like hit or miss with Adam Neville since he kind of went off on his own indie streak, but I'm really excited to see what he does because I did really enjoy his last release. So fingers crossed for that one. Okay, next up we have Nowhere Burning by Catriona Ward. Now this is coming out on February 24th of 2026. And if that sounds familiar, it's because this book was on my list last year and it didn't come out in 2025. I don't know what happened with that, but it's a Tor Nightfire release. Got pushed back a couple of months, so we will be getting it in February. Very, very, very excited to read Catriona Ward again. Looking Glass Sound is one of my favorite contemporary reads that I've stumbled upon, and I just enjoy her twisty-turny, super out of left field writing. I think she's really, really fun with what she does. So this says, set in the unforgiving maw of the Rocky Mountains, Nowhere Burning is the latest harrowing novel from best-selling author Catriona Ward. Perfect for fans of Riley Sager and the hit series Yellow Jackets. A refuge for lost children may also be their prison. In the middle of the night, Riley pulls her younger brother Oliver out of bed, and the two run away from home. Riley is intent on joining a group of teenagers squatting in the abandoned ruins of an infamous movie star's ranch, Nowhere. For actor Leif Winham, Nowhere was a place to hide from his fame, and to hide his crimes, until a fire ravaged his home and exposed him as a murderer. It is rumored that the ranch nestled in the peaks of the Rocky Mountains is now home to a group of feral children, a place where adults cannot enter, and Riley hopes to find a new family there. But the Nowhere kids are fierce in defending their turf and their clan, and Riley quickly realizes that while she and Oliver may have left the devil they knew, this group is a new type of diabolical. For something dark lives in the burned shell of Nowhere, something which asks a terrible price for sanctuary. Okay. Super excited for this. I know it's going to be even more twisty and turny than just the premise alone states, because that is how Catriona Ward does her thing. Very, very excited for that. I've also been to the Rocky Mountains, so I think it's going to be really cool to read about a setting I have been to, and I really, really love when that happens. Alrighty, so next up, we have Wolfworm by T. Kingfisher. This is coming out on March 24th. And I believe this is a standalone novel. I don't think it's connected to any of her other novels. I know that T. Kingfisher has been releasing a lot of books in her series. That's all inspired by like Edgar Allan Poe. I didn't like the first book, so I haven't been reading that, so I'm pretty sure this is a standalone. So let's see what it says. Something darker than the devil stalks the North Carolina woods in Wolfworm, a new Gothic masterpiece from New York Times bestselling author T. Kingfisher. The year is 1899, and Sonia Wilson is a scientific illustrator without work, prospects, or hope. When the reclusive Dr. Halder offers her a position illustrating his vast collection of insects, Sonia jumps at the chance to move to his North Carolina manor house and put her talents to use. But soon enough, she finds that there are darker things at work than the Carolina woods. What happened to her predecessor, Halder's wife? Why are animals acting so strangely? And what is behind the peculiar local whispers about blood thieves? With the aid of the housekeeper and a local healer, Sonia discovers that Halder's entomological studies have taken him down a dark road full of parasitic maggots, ew, that burrow into human flesh, double ew, and that his monstrous experiments may grow to encompass his newest illustrator as well. Kingfisher is not afraid to twist the knife. The Washington Post. Cool. Okay. So as long as this is insecty, I think I'm going to be grossed out. But I hope it's not Spore. She's recently written a lot of Spore, and I do not like Spore. If you don't know, it's horror about mushrooms, like spores and horror, Spore. But this sounds like it could be really gross. And I'm really excited that it's a standalone, unique piece that isn't actually inspired by another work of fiction. She kind of started her horror career making interpretations of iconic Gothic lit. Specifically like The Willows by Algernon Blackwood and The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. And I'm really happy to see her kind of branching out, and I believe this is the second like fully original novel that she has released under this pen name. She does have a different name where she writes, I think, romance. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be gross. Insects creep me out. Maggots, that sounds disgusting, so we will see, but I will definitely read it because I really liked A House with Good Bones, which was her last original release, and that was not part of a series, and I thought that was really, really fun. Okay, next up we have Mocha, M-O-L-K-A, by Monica Kim. This is coming out in April 28th. I don't know why I picked like all books that are coming out in like spring, but that was just by accident. So we have Mocha by Monica Kim, and this is the author of The Eyes Are the Best Part. I didn't love that book, but I really liked the uniqueness of it, and I liked Monica Kim's writing, so I'm really interested to read more from her. So the premise is this. The new novel by the Sunday Times bestselling author of The Eyes Are the Best Part, Mocha. Noun, the Korean term for spy cameras secretly and illegally installed, often to capture voyeuristic images and video. Daya can't believe her luck when she finds herself in a whirlwind romance with handsome, charismatic Hyuk-jun, the heir to a multi-million-dollar fortune. But then a shocking revelation threatens. The couple has been caught on a spy cam amid Korea's growing Mocha epidemic, and the video is all over the internet. When Hyuk-jun flees the country to avoid the intense public scrutiny, Dae is left to grapple with the ramifications on her own, and the demons from her childhood, long dormant, begin to surface. Amid the chaos, she catches the attention of Jung Young, a nerdy, introverted IT tech at work. Jung Young harbors a dark secret. He has been spying on the women at work with his own hidden cameras. As Dae's life begins to unravel, she unknowingly becomes the sole target of Jung Young's perverse obsession. When the facts surrounding the invasion of her privacy come to light, Dae is faced with the humiliating truth. Her pain and hurt turn to rage as she faces her past. Her desire for vengeance is insatiable, and she will not rest until the men who have wronged her have paid in blood. Okay. This is a really cool concept. This is going to talk so much about the culture of South Korea, which I know some about. My stepmom's Korean, but I don't know to the extent of what it's like living day to day with that. So I'm really excited to read this. This is kind of how it felt with reading The Eyes Are the Best Part as well. I really loved her just usage of Korean culture to really build the stakes of the horror that was presented to the reader. And I'm really excited to read this. I also apologize if I butchered any of those names. I'm very, very sorry. I'm trying my best. Please let me know down in the comments if I can improve on my pronunciations there. But yeah, this sounds really, really fun. She's a very, very twisted writer in her concept, so I can just see this kind of spiraling into something really crazy and really dark and really, really interesting. All right, next up we have The Caretaker by Marcus Klewer. I just discovered him in the novel We Used to Live Here. I really, really enjoyed that. That was a Reddit read. It was a book that started on like a creepypasta on Reddit and became the book that it is. So that's really, really cool. I think this is just an original standalone novel. And this is coming out on April 21st. So it says, follow the rights. Nothing less than the survival of humanity is at stake. From Marcus Cleaver, a new titan of the macabre and unsettling, comes a supernatural horror about a young woman who accepts a caretaking job from Craigslist. Ooh. Only to discover the position has consequences far greater and more dangerous than she could ever have imagined. Exciting opportunity, caretaker urgently needed. 3 days of work, competitive pay, serious applicants only. Macy Mullins can't say why the job posting grabbed her attention. It had the pull of a fisherman's lure, barbed, hook, and all. Vaguely ominous. But after an endless string of failed job interviews, she's not exactly in a position to be picky. She has rent to pay, groceries to buy, and a younger sister to provide for. Besides, it's only 3 days' work. 3 days cooped up in a stranger's house surrounded by Oregon coast wilderness? What starts as a peculiar side gig soon becomes a waking nightmare. An incomprehensible evil may dwell on this property, and Macy Mullins might just be the only thing standing between it and the rest of humanity. Follow the rights, follow the rights, follow the rights. Ooh, and then it has the Morse code thing. Okay, so now I'm like, I wonder if this is going to relate back to We Used to Live Here. There was a secret code throughout We Used to Live Here done in Morse code of dots and dashes, and this has it at the end. It's dot dot dash 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 slash dot 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 slash dash 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 dot dot. I'm thinking that's SOS. I feel like that's probably what that is. But that's really, really cool that they're connecting this back to that. And I wonder if we're going to learn more, because I had so many questions after finishing We Used to Live Here that just went unanswered. So I'm very, very, very excited to read more from Cleaver. I thought he was a really, really great debut author. All right, next up we have Dig by J.H. Markert. This is coming out on March 24th of 2026. I am becoming a massive fan of J.H. Markert. I discovered him by a cover buy because I thought the cover of The Nightmare Man, which was his debut horror novel, was phenomenal, and now I've read everything that he's released under that pen name. He writes, I want to say historical fiction. I don't actually remember what else he writes, but he writes under his real name for a different genre, but I just read his horror, and I've been very happy with his kind of noir, thriller, supernatural adjacent crime dramas. I think they're really fun, and that's kind of how all of them are. Okay, so it says, the soil on Crow Island holds secrets, and they're ready to be unearthed. J.H. Markert returns with a surreal horror novel perfect for fans of Graveyard Shift and What Moves the Dead. 8 years ago, a boy took up an axe and slaughtered a dozen people. That odd, troubled boy, Jericho Dodd, has been dead and buried in his father's yard for years. But ever since that massacre, Crow Island has been a dark and unsettling place. When Jericho's father begins digging up the past he buried, a compulsion to dig sweeps over the island, and soon everyone else is obsessively churning up dirt, desperate to uncover buried secrets. The compulsion leads to violence, and as neighbors turn against each other, the island's famous Tupelo honey? I don't know. Tupelo? I might be saying that wrong. But the island's famous Tupelo honey, harvested from trees deep in a swamp, changes too. As dread and paranoia seep up from the ground, it becomes clear that the island itself needs something from its residents, before it digs itself apart for good. Be careful what you unearth from the dirt before this surreal horror novel can worm its way into you, too. So this is not going to be a crime drama. This is going to be the first one that he's written, I think, that isn't a crime case. That's going to be really cool. I wonder if there'll be a cop lead. He loves a strong, like, female cop lead. And they're always such flawed characters. I love J.H. Markert's work because his characters are always so intriguingly flawed. So very, very, very excited for that, especially since he seems to be doing a different direction than his normal formula. That's the right way to say, his normal formula for writing. Okay, next up, I'm so excited for this. I've known about this book for a while, but Kiss, Slay, Replay by Rachel Harrison, who is one of my favorite authors. This is coming out in September of 2026. It does not look like there is a set release date, so I'm going to read off the Penguin Random House page. So it says, every wedding guest's worst nightmare is on repeat in this wild and twisty new horror novel from New York Times bestselling author of So Thirsty and Play Nice. It's the picture-perfect wedding weekend. The venue is dreamy, the weather is beautiful, love is in the air, and Willa Sullivan is having a bad time. She's excited to celebrate her best friends finally having a big wedding they've always wanted. But this is the first time she's seen her ex-fiancé in months, and he brought a date. Everything feels off, like she stumbled into an alternative universe. But things start to look up when Willa meets Danny, the groom's charming and single childhood best friend. When they sneak off together, their rendezvous is interrupted by a masked killer terrorizing the reception. Willa and Danny fight to save the ones they love and survive the night. But the killer is unrelenting. A final girl, Willa is not. Or is she? She wakes up and it's the morning of the wedding. She just had the most intense nightmare of her life. Only as the day unfolds, there are some uncanny coincidences that make her question whether it was really a dream, deja vu, or something more sinister. After a horrifying turn of events, Willow comes to understand that she's stuck in a loop of carnage and terror, that she must learn how to escape, or else suffer a fate worse than death, being an eternal wedding guest. Rachel Harrison is so funny. Like, being the guest at somebody else's wedding and running into your ex as her Groundhog Day, and then throw in Happy Death Day. This sounds hilarious, and I'm so here for it. I adored Play Nice. Play Nice was just, it was one of my top reads of 2025 for a reason. So I'm so excited to read this. I went to a Rachel Harrison discussion of Play Nice with Clay McLeod Chapman and Nat Cassidy, and they were talking about this book before it was announced, and she was saying like how much fun it was and how different it was from what she's normally written, so I'm really excited to read this. Okay, and last but not least, speaking of Clay McLeod Chapman, we have Bodies of Work by Clay McLeod Chapman. This is coming out on April 7th. This will be released by Titan Books, and the description says, a chilling supernatural revenge novella from the acclaimed author of Wake Up and Open Your Eyes, which I still need to read. It's right here. It's next to me. It says, perfect for fans of Joe Hill and Delilah S. Dawson, at 66 years old, Winston Kemper has always been a non-entity. No one notices him. His simple existence barely registers for those who come into contact with him. Some call him feeble-minded. He's a janitor at the local church, a groundskeeper by default, and that's it. No friends, no family. When he's done with work, he returns home, a remote single-room apartment located above a garage, and that is where his true work begins. Winston Kemper is a collector of voices, and his magnum opus, The Butterfly Girls, is a sprawling epic of untapped imagination. It has no single canvas, no particular frame. It is everywhere, scribbled on the walls, the floor, and countless notebooks. Winston is creating a fantasia which exists in words, images, and blood. As part of his art, he has been murdering forgotten women, poor souls who slip through the cracks of society, who no one's looking for, mothers, sisters, daughters to someone, but no more. Winston takes their lives, their voices, but now he can hear them. They whisper to him. They talk of revenge. Winston Kemper might not believe in ghosts, but he is about to learn that they are very real, and they are very angry. Well, that sounds dark. That sounds very dark. I read Kill Your Darling earlier this year, I think it was this year, by Clay McLeod Chapman, and that was so freaking dark. It was like hard to handle. It was so dark. So I'm interested to see how dark this one goes. I feel like Chapman sometimes is like borderline on extreme horror, but his concepts are really dark and depressing and very like visceral with how they stick with the reader. So I'm really interested to see what he does with this one. I also need to read Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. It is here. I've been meaning to read it. It's just a very heavy topic of a book. Chapman's a great author. He's definitely somebody that I quite enjoy reading, but he is somebody that I have to mentally prepare for sometimes, especially after something like Ghost Eaters, which just really drained me. So I'm very excited to read this, but a little hesitant with how dark the concept is. But, like, I'll still read it. I do quite like Chapman. I've also met him before, and he's, like, such a sweetheart in real life. Anyhow, that is my first 10 books that I'm super excited to read in 2026. Let me know in the comments down below if there are any books that I have missed or that you think I should check out. Really excited for this year. I'm planning on definitely amping up my reading game and actually hitting my reading goals, and hopefully getting through 6 books a month, which I was not able to do this last year, but hopefully we're gonna get back on track. Anyways, that is all that I have for you guys today. As always, I try to post every 2 to 3 times a week. Fingers crossed that I can get back onto my normal schedule. I know I've been saying that all year, but trying to get there. And if you enjoyed these videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and I will catch you on the next one. Mwah!